Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Selling Greenville, your favorite real estate podcast here in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm your host, as always, Stan McCune, realtor right here in Greenville, and you can find all of my contact information in the show notes if you need to reach out to me for any of your real estate needs. And just a reminder, as always, please like, rate, review, subscribe, whatever you can do with regard to the show, comment, whatever, anything like that helps to support the show, and I really appreciate it from you guys. So I've got a lot of exciting things coming up in the near future here. And this is kind of an aside because it's not at all what this episode is going to be about. But just so you guys know, I'm always working to make my service as a realtor better for my clients. And what I rolled out this week, which I'm very excited about, now I have a list of all of the vendors that I've worked with, or that I highly recommend in all sorts of different trades are now on my website, vendors.stansellsgreenville.com. You need a password to access that. I can give you the password. It's just one password. And basically, I just didn't want all of those names to just be, published out there without me having to, notify every single person. It's just easier to just put it behind a password. So that's what I did. I'm sure somebody could figure out a way to work around it. No big deal. I don't really care. But it's really for my clients specifically. And again, then that's also why I have the password on it. But now you can literally just from your phone, you can just look up if you want a surveyor, if you want a painter, if you want a flooring person, appraiser, whatever. I've got a tremendous amount, years worth of experience with various vendors, various tradespeople, contractors, etc. Now, basically in an app format that you can just look up at any time from your phone without having to download an app. You just go to my website, vendors.stansellsgreenville.com. And again, just shoot me a quick little text message. My contact info is in the show notes. If you want access to that, I'd love to grant that to you. Excuse me. Just had lunch, and of course my throat is all lunchy feeling, I guess. Ooh, that sounded gross. But anyway, today we're going to take a little bit of an aside. Not talking specifically about real estate, not even necessarily talking specifically about Greenville, but we talked about the primary elections recently in a recent podcast, and I found that a lot of people really do enjoy the when this show gets into politics because a lot of our local and state politics are not covered super specifically by the local media. That's not anything that not me throwing shade at the local media. It's just they have a lot of things to cover. Sometimes they can't cover all the things politically that people are wanting information on. But all of this does impact the local real estate market. And it specifically impacts people relocating here because a lot of them are relocating here at least partially because of our politics. And so who gets elected into office kind of matters, right? And so I'm going to just kind of discuss some of the results of the election that happened this past week and the primaries. And you guys can draw your own conclusions from all of that. But before I do that, I just want to say congratulations to Daniel Rumfelt, who came on the show of his own accord several months ago when he kickstarted his campaign. He came on the show and I interviewed him. He demonstrated that he was one of the most knowledgeable county council candidates that I have ever spoken to. And I've spoken to a lot of them, not on my show, but in other contexts. He ended up, which I'll discuss here in a minute, but he ended up winning his primary election, and he basically is a shoo-in for county council. Even though the general election is not until November, he's pretty much a shoo-in for that. This is now the second straight year that I've had someone running for political office reach out to me asking to come on my show. They do, and then they win. Tina Belgi last year for Greenville City Council did the same thing. And I don't want to at all take credit for that, and I can't take credit for either Belgi or Rumfelt winning on the basis of them coming on my show. I think where the correlation is between the two of them is that they're both super hard workers and both recognizing the need to explore alternate modes of getting their message out, right? Not just doing the standard door knocking and signs. There needs to be other ways to get their name out there, and they did that. And so they showed, them coming on a small podcast like Selling Greenville. That was just a way for them to get, these are people that are, whoever's listening to my show are really plugged in and really interested. That was a way for them to get their message out to a small group of very interested and very invested individuals when it comes to Greenville. And so I think the fact that they both won is more indicative of the fact that, and that they were both on my show is more indicative of the fact that they were both really campaigning hard and smartly and really thinking about how creative can we get in our campaign, and those people tend to win. And I can't say that I was confident that Daniel Rumsfeld was going to win because he was going up against Rick Bradley, who is an incumbent, has been on county council for quite some time. And it's hard to unseat an incumbent. And particularly, he wasn't, um, Councilman Bradley has not been there was an old guard of county council, a bunch of incumbents that have been voted out over the past few years. Rick Bradley really was different than them. He was more in line with the newer people on council from the past 6 years. And so it was not an easy election, and it ended up being close. It ended up being 48 to 52. So anyway, all that to say, congratulations to Daniel Rumfeld. I think he's going to be a fantastic council person. He and I didn't challenge him on a lot of stuff in the interview that I did with him, but I could tell he's really thought through a lot of issues in a very deep way and understands those issues. And for that reason, even if I don't agree with him on everything, I think he's going to be a fantastic county council person because he actually gets the important things that county council is supposed to do, and he's going to bring a great presence to Southern Greenville County. All right, so that's all that. Maybe I won't. Maybe that will be everything I have to say about Daniel Rumfeld because I just went on for about 5 minutes about him. But let's jump up to the top. We'll start state level, and then I'll get into more of these Greenville County specific districts. And I'm not going to get into Spartanburg County. I am, even though as a realtor I work all of these local counties, as someone in the background of politics, I really am only focused on Greenville. Now, I do know some people in Spartanburg, like Representative Magnuson, who won. It was like 81 to 19. I mean, I think that was the biggest blowout that we had in the entire upstate. Representative Magnuson, who is in Spartanburg County, a really, really good person who I've seen several times in person, spoken to him on the phone, when there's an issue that I feel like he needs to know about. Very responsive, very responsible, very focused on upholding our state constitution. Very pleased to see him win 81 to 19. But outside of him and a few others in Spartanburg, I don't really know a whole lot about those candidates because that's not the area. I can't be knowledgeable about every single county in South Carolina. Unfortunately, my focus is Greenville County. So just keep that in mind here. All right, so let's start statewide. And I guess we'll just start with the governor's race. So we had, obviously, we had Republican primaries and Democratic primaries. And the Democratic primary was very decisive. Jermaine Johnson won outright. There's going to be no runoff with regard to that primary. Jermaine Johnson, if you're curious what I think about him, I have seen him speak in person. I don't agree with a lot of his platforms, but there is a good bit that I did agree with on him or with him on. And I think he has correctly diagnosed the issues in our state. I don't know if he's correctly diagnosed all of the solutions, but for sure some of them I would agree with him on. And just in general, just a very impressive candidate. Definitely, if you're on the fence, with let's say you are a moderate, and sometimes you can be a swing vote. If you don't know much about Jermaine Johnson, I definitely think he's worth looking into. You might find you like more about his platforms than you realize. Now, on the Republican side, which the reality of the situation is that in the state of South Carolina, a Republican is going to be the next governor. Republican has been governor for many years. Jermaine Johnson, vote your conscience, but understand that Jermaine Johnson, he is not going to win the general election in November. It's going to be one of two people because Pamela Evette, the lieutenant governor, and Alan Wilson, the former attorney general, they got 28% and 26% respectively. So not very good. But that was enough because there were so many people running. That was enough to for them to basically get to a runoff. So runoff will happen in a couple of weeks, and I've got a sneeze coming on, and I was able to successfully suppress that sneeze for the time being. I don't know what the deal has been with me having sneezes coming on lately. Weird. Um, But Lieutenant Governor Evette, former Attorney General Wilson, one of those two is going to win the runoff in 2 weeks. If I had to guess, I would guess the Lieutenant Governor, which would be basically a continuity. She's basically a continuity candidate. And so if you like what the state of South Carolina has been doing the past few years, you should be in favor of that. If you want to mix it up, Alan Wilson is the person you might consider mixing it up. My issue, I feel like we do need a change, but I have an issue with, I feel like our state government has been ruined by attorneys and lawyers, and Alan Wilson is unfortunately one of them. And so I have to really consider whether I want to basically weigh into that runoff or whether I am just gonna, consider another option come November. But those are the considerations there. Now, U.S. Senate, Lindsey Graham handily won the Republican primary. Now, we had a Greenville local, Mark Lynch, who ran against Senator Graham, and he put up a good fight. But it at the end of the day, the Lindsey Graham political machine cannot be overstated just how effective it is. I mean, the endorsements he's able to get, the money he's able to pull into his campaign. He was bringing up stuff from Mark Lynch's past from like in his 20s, and it worked. It worked. I don't know what to say. I do think that we need some fresh voices in the U.S. Senate from the state of South Carolina. I have liked Tim Scott. I think Tim Scott is a great asset to our state. Senator Graham, I can't say he's personally my favorite, but he's going to be our senator for another term, regardless. U.S. House, William Timmons won handily 66%, and he will end up facing Democratic opponent Courtney McLean. I should have mentioned Lindsey Graham will be facing Annie Andrews. Again, neither of these Democratic opponents, Dr. Annie Andrews or Courtney McLean, going up against William Timmons. The reality is, and again, I'm not trying to speak this into existence. I'm just telling you what it is. Okay, neither of them are going to beat Graham or Timmons. It's not going to happen. You can look at how many votes were cast for these different candidates and figure that out for yourself. It's a red state, a very red area, and that's the reality of the situation. But William Timmons, whether you love him or hate him, he's a very polarizing person in the Greenville Spartanburg political scene. He is accessible. He does listen to his constituents, and not everything he does is perfect. But I think he has been, for my purposes, I think he's been fine as my representative to the U.S. government. Attorney General, we have a runoff happening that is going to be former Senator Stephen Goldfinch against Solicitor David Stumbo. Goldfinch got 41% of the vote. Stumbo got 35% of the vote. I am, when it comes to Attorney General, really a big focus for me is someone that isn't like overly focused on hemp. I think that there's a lot of good that hemp provides. That might be controversial to some people. I'm not talking about people that are just stoned, in the park all day, every day. That's not what I'm talking about. So don't put words into my mouth. But I'm talking about, a lot of medical marijuana, a lot of sleep products, a lot of things of that nature that are helpful, that provide societal good. And I believe that Goldfinch is probably the person who would be the least likely to go after that sort of stuff. And that has a direct real estate tie as well, because there are people that grow hemp-related products, and there's a local it's Delta 8 or Delta 9 drink creator called Rebel Rabbit. And unfortunately, their products are good in my opinion. Unfortunately, I think that they have some sort of a connection to our government, where our government was trying to pass hemp-related bills that allowed for drinks but nothing else, which is makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And so this is why I think that having an attorney general that has the proper perspective for that, I think is helpful. But there's a lot of other considerations too when it comes to attorney general. So for me, that's one that's near and dear to my heart, and one that's controversial currently in the state of South Carolina. So I've been pretty focused on that. Commissioner of Agriculture Cody Simpson got 38% versus Danny Ford got 37%. So that'll be a runoff as well. I can't say that I have super strong opinions on any of that. Um, and so that's that. Do your own research. I did my own research for when I voted for that. But that's not something that I have strong opinions on. It definitely affects people, in the farming community and whatnot. And those are the people that you should probably be asking about that. When it comes to State House, we had a few people that I just want to give quick little shout outs to. Representative Neil Collins in Easley, he's been very, very accessible, very, very helpful when private property related things come up. He won outright. Good for him. Representative in Greenville, Paul Wickensheimer, one of the best uh, state representatives that we have, and he's right here in Greenville. He recently helped champion shooting down what, in my opinion, was a very, very unconstitutional, illegal state bill that Senator Corbin in South Carolina introduced, along with Mike Burns, Representative Burns, that basically would have been state level zoning, where they were trying to basically restrict lot sizes to 5 acres or more, um, without any public input. When we have zoning, first off, zoning is done at the county level. And then when it's done at the county level, there's proposed hearings and public input and all of that. They were trying to bypass all of that and do this very top-down approach that was basically the state mandating this this sort of thing on a local level, and that was crazy. Representative Wickensheimer really, really championed that this is wrong, it shouldn't happen, and he helped to kill the bill. And then Representative Wendell Jones, also in Greenville, very impressive candidate as well, very accessible. Um, I, I don't know him super well. I've had a few conversations with him, but congratulations to him as well. A well-deserved victory with no runoff for him. Now let's talk about Greenville County Council. We had an open seat that was vacated by Councilman Russo, who served one term, and this one was interesting. Joe Dill, who Russo unseated however many years ago, um, ran in this election, and he had three other people running against him: John Ellers, James Hord, and Travis Forrester. Um, this is going to a runoff between Joe Dill and Travis Forrester. Now, this has gotten to be a very interesting race because Ellers, Horde, and Dill all had very choice things to say about the Realtor Association, hello, which I am involved with, that we supported Travis Forrester and that we endorsed Travis Forrester through our political action committee. And they went out and started saying that Travis Forrester is in bed with the developers, which is crazy because the developers have their own political action committee. They don't run their PAC through the Realtor Political Action Committee. And so that was completely misplaced. It started with James Horde. Ironically, I saw James Horde at a rally recently for Ralph Norman, who did not make it to the governor runoff. And Ralph Norman's a developer, so James Horde literally went to a developer's rally while also claiming that he wasn't getting support from developers because he wasn't getting support from the Realtor Association, which is outrageous. The whole thing was outrageous. So that's that. That'll go to a runoff. I would think Joe Dill is going to be a very, very heavy favorite against Travis Forrester. For my purposes, I think we need new blood again in county council. I would be in favor of Travis Forrester in this instance, but I will say to those, just in case you're wondering about the Realtor Political Action Committee, I just want to say this because I've been on the committee for 6 years now. It is not a committee that's focused on indiscriminate growth and just unchecked development. That is not at all what that committee is about. The committee is about private property rights and housing affordability. Now, is there overlap with development when it comes to those two issues? Absolutely. Absolutely, there is overlap. But to just put the realtors in bed with the developers is simply not accurate. Additionally, I would say that when we vote on supporting or endorsing certain candidates, it's not uncommon for those votes to not be unanimous. People disagree. People on the committee disagree. Realtors disagree. We've got 3,800 realtors in the Greater Greenville Association of Realtors. You think all 3,800 agree with who the association endorses? Of course not. And so I'll just say that, and I'm just going to leave it at that because there's a lot of confidential stuff with regard to our pack that we don't need to, and I can't get into. But that's that. All right. District 23. This covers a lot of downtown West Greenville. We have an unseated incumbent, Alan Mitchell, who unfortunately was dealing with some health struggles that I think really hurt his campaign. He lost to David Mitchell, who got 30%. Alan Mitchell got 26%. And then Angela Aiken got 43%. So there will be a runoff between Aiken and David Mitchell. And Alan Mitchell, who has served the past, I believe, 6 years, will not be serving again. That's unfortunate for me because I thought Alan Mitchell was a fantastic person and someone who got stuff done. I heard people who did not have that experience with him, but I did. When I needed something done downtown with the property that I had, I called up Councilman Alan Mitchell. He got it done for me. He prioritized it. Just a really, really standout individual, in my opinion. Now it goes to Angela Aiken and David Mitchell. And really, this is a question of whether, in my opinion, between these two candidates, whether you want someone that's more focused on infrastructure kind of concerns, which is, I think, more David Mitchell's approach, or whether you want someone that's more concerned with standard democratic social and environmental and more progressive talking points, which I think is more Angela Aiken. She's going to be more on the progressive end of the spectrum. David Mitchell will be more of a moderate, both Democrats, as Alan Mitchell was as well. But that specific district is a heavy Democrat district. So that comes as no surprise. But there will be a runoff between the two of them. So do your research on that. District 28, Dan Tripp's open seat, former chair of Greenville County Council, if I'm not mistaken. Alan Kellett lost to Kyle Long, 47-53. So that was extremely close. And for my purposes, I thought Kellett would have made a strong candidate. But I think Kyle Long has the potential, to also be a good candidate for that as well. And I hope I hope he is, because he is going to be the county council person for District 28 now. So that is pretty much all that I have to say about that. Big picture, I'll say that I think that we're going to see more of the same. Um, I think that we're going to nothing changed dramatically about the tenor of the state, the tenor of county council. What we're seeing is people, for the most part, kind of like the direction that the state is going. And the biggest concerns tend to be around development, that they don't want development, that they really don't care about housing affordability. And so that's something that I'm going to continue to harp on in the show because that is a continuous issue that we're battling. Um, but um, but overall, some interesting things that happened, some good things, some things I didn't like. But all in all, it was a good primary for the state of South Carolina, and hopefully the elections and hopefully the runoff soon goes well, and we get the right people in office in November. So thank you so much for watching and listening. My contact info is in the show notes. Please like, rate, review, subscribe. We will talk to you guys next time.